Here, thank you very much. This exhibition is very close to my heart. I've been working with this organization for a long time, and I would like to be very specific, tell you what it's all about, then we're going to be talking about the work, but I want you to understand where this is coming from. I brought a catalog that I want to show you, but I don't know, it disappeared, and Jeff is going to go and get it. It's okay, it's no problem, you know, I mean, it's a lot of good information inside that catalog, you know, that is not a problem. We don't have that many left, but at least it's a good information. Okay, the premise of this exhibition is, the title is Visionary of Life, but basically, my essay in the catalog is dealing with selection from the collection. NAEMI is an organization, National Association of the Mentally Ill. It's an organization based in Miami and was founded in 1988 by Juan Martin. Juan Martin, current the executive director of NAEMI. And his main goal, and the organization's main goal, is basically to discover, to study, promote, exhibit, and preserve the art of people recovering from mentally ill. For years, one of the most forgotten people have been the mentally ill people. They have been like lepers, you know, nobody wants to even get close to them, and nobody takes seriously. And what happened is that they look at a art in hospital and they think it's only therapy, but they don't realize that it's a lot of artists who happen to be, you know, mentally ill, and they want to continue doing their work. And what this organization do that, you know, we are not refusing, or the organization is not refusing those who deal with therapy, and they continue. Like I'm going to be telling you about some cases of some hospitals in Argentina where they don't allow regular camera, they only allow pinholes because it's inside the hospital, and they have workshops, and that workshop have stimulated a lot of people, and they continue to do that. But it's not necessarily done as a therapy. If they don't come, if they don't continue, if they don't motivate themselves, it's not just, you know, a therapy. They become enamored. They become real part of that, and you will be seeing some of the works. You know, for example, some of these things. Those of you who are familiar with photography will see the difference between a pinhole is a method without length. You know, can be a box, can be a, you know, a little can thing. This is the catalog that I was talking about. I'm going to be using that because I would like to give credit also, besides Juan Martin, other couple of people who have done a lot of the some of the research, you know, like Raster and Luis Espino and myself. We are part of this catalog, but I didn't want to actually forget them. That is the reason why I got this catalog. But nevertheless, you have that kind of work and that kind of people, but there are other people who are professional photographers. And they use sophisticated tools. And they do work like any other photographer. NAEMI help artists to get public recognition and economic independence by selling their artwork. As an organization, it wants increase artist credibility in a society that otherwise will ostracize them. The project allows the artists to value their own work, being ignored by society and by themselves, because a lot of them are sick and they have actually not pursued it or ignored, and they have the talent and they haven't had the motivation, and that is one of the reasons that the organization like to follow or help that kind of situation. And they have been throughout the years, and we have done here several of that exhibitions, and some have been situations that are very particularly, all kind of mental ill, from Asperger, many different kind of situations. Artists who do that kind of work, and some of them don't talk, some of them don't, they are under hospitalization, but they are brilliant and they do work, and we have done a lot of that things here throughout the years. Again, because I have been fascinated and I have been interested in helping, and you can learn from any art. Not just the sophisticated art, not just the trained artist is the one who will give you the essence of what, and that is one of the reasons why I think this kind of work will motivate, any artist, especially in a teaching collection like ours. In nearly 3 decades, NAEMI have developed numerous projects. In addition to the annual exhibition in Miami, the collection has traveled to numerous museums and galleries in the United States, Spain, Belgium, Chile, Argentina, Peru, Paraguay, Bolivia, and Chile. They have done, and I have been very fortunate to travel with them in a couple of places. They have done fantastic work, and also they involve people from all over. Now they have work with hospitals in Cuba, which before was almost impossible, and therefore there is more and more. One is going more to Cuba and bringing, and there are few works. And last year, 2 years ago, we did an exhibition just of Cuban artists, which and this is what I want to jump into it. We call most of that art in order to feed everybody outsider art. How many of you are not familiar with the word outsider? Okay. Everybody else is familiar with the word outsider? Okay, the word outsider is very inclusive because can be visionary art, can be people who are self-taught, can be people who doing art and is not necessarily accepted or traditional. And we include, it's included here, the term outside was a coin by Roger Cardinal in 1972 as a starting point to the original concept of art brut, which basically at that time it was coined by Dubuffet, like the art of the mental insane, was a little bit heavier at that, and there have been a lot of museums in Europe, using that terminology, and there have been some important artists. But now it's more open, what I was trying to tell you at the very beginning, more inclusive. That way, otherwise it's very difficult than galleries of museums just accept artists, just because they are mentally ill or whatever. But now is the quality of their art, and then under that rubric of outsider art is a little easier. Therefore, we have seen that happen. And that is something that Juan and the whole board of the organization is very much interested in doing that. That doesn't mean that we will take away the mental ill, but we are involving more and more, and I'm going to be showing you later some other exhibitions, and I got a catalog that we deal with that. Now, when it comes to the art of the mentally ill, a creative sector that has been, as I said before, marginalized from the exhibition circuit and art sales, even social prejudice at the lack of proper funding. This exhibition provides a unique opportunity to contribute to the integration of these creators, as I said a few minutes ago. Therefore, more we expose this, I think, the better understanding of that. And in this case, it's only photography, but there are many, many other. When I start curating that, when one asked me to curate this exhibition that will be traveling, or is already traveling, is here and will be going to other places, out of over 1,000 pieces in the collection, he said, well, let's just concentrate in photography, and I was very delighted because that is one of the areas that some of you know that I like to work on. And then we start working on this, and it was very difficult because some of these exhibits, some of these images I have exhibited here before at Lehigh under a different kind of context. But I thought that they are so good, especially some of the pinhole one, that I couldn't put it out. You know, I have to bring it back. And again, I am repeating myself, but it's the ones from the Argentina, also some anonymous, like this one. You know, that image, which is an anonymous from Spain, you know, which you can see also the horizon, but the one on the tree, I found is such an incredibly beautiful image, and that can have been done for almost anyone. Then a lot of the different, what I am looking here is images that transcend to a certain extent, you know, that have a different kind of message, and go and look, you know, go and give you a different kind of a perspective for reading, you know, that you don't have to look, you don't have to like everything that you see, but you can actually feel that you are doing some kind of discovery to a certain extent. Now, one of the artists here, which and her aunt, you know, they were, you know, they get sick and she had to take care of them, and she couldn't actually do what she wanted, and that was something that really aggravated her. And, you know, I mean, that was something that she said that, oh, I wish that I can. But interesting enough, somebody gave her a camera, and she started, you know, to paint with her camera. And, you know, she got all the problems in life, but she found that way, and she started painting with her camera. And whatever she found, and her work, I was fascinating, and I have seen a lot of her work also in Cuba. They are paintings. You know, they are, you know, I mean, she's also, and she does some of that herself, and then she photographs it. She doesn't consider it painting. She actually does that as a photograph. You know, that is the kind of thing. As I say, this one has a different kind of language, and that is the beauty about photography, or well, any kind of art. But you have different kind of discourse. And I mentioned this one, and I love to do that in any kind of exhibition, to have different discourses. That way, not necessarily that I want to confuse you, although that is not a bad idea, but, you know, to get you a different way of looking and seeing at things. Okay. You know, Juan Martin. Juan was born in Cuba, and he lives in the United States. He's the executive director. And he, besides being the director of the NAEMI, he's also a poet and a photographer, quite you know, accomplished photographer. And to a certain extent, I love his poetry, but his photography is actually an outsider photography, because he never trained as a photographer, and he's fantastic, and he do everything reversal, and that is one of the things that I always you know, like about that. He's quite accomplished in his work. That is Juan Martin. Now, this is the work of Gabriel Fernandez. Any comments before I say anything? Any reactions? Just to look at the work.
She likes to take pictures of mundane objects and then beautify them against what is, you know.
Exactly. Gabriel Fernandez photographed space, objects and daily scenes in which he introduced disconcerting elements. I think that is what you were trying to say.
Right.
But
aren't, something's not right.
Exactly. That is basically what he is doing in this kind of photography. He's introducing, he's also a writer, he's a very fascinating young man who is very intense. You know, I have been following and seeing his photograph. They are very dense, but there is a feeling in his photograph that even they are dense, they are clear to the extent that they have, you know, a message or messages that can be seen. That is one of the factors that I found very interesting, and I don't know if you, agree with me, but that is what I want to hear. How do you see his work?
Well, even the sense of light is so, it's like flooded and it melts everything, and it's so intense, the light as a form in itself. You can feel the substance of light in the images, and it's almost, otherworldly.
Now let's look at an English lady, Christy Watts. Very sophisticated, very well groomed and educated all her life. You know, of course, everybody have their story, but she is very much interested in all art forms, and this is her work. You know, very meticulous, theatrical, planned, and I say theatrical because it's almost like you are directing a scene and putting, if you really look carefully, the way that she have created, you know, look at the nude inside, you know, it's very, very well set, well planned. It's a total different imagination, a total different kind of ways of, doesn't make any difference if the person, what medication, what kind of thing they are taking, what they are doing, is what they are expressing. You know what I mean? Because in this situation, many of them we know very little of them. Some of them we know a lot. But the thing that we are looking at is the way that they express themselves.
Well, they're very sculptural too, and
Very much,
but
very
disturbing, and in a disturbing way, meaning that they look incomplete or, you know, not finished. Just not finished. You know, like they're not classical.
Like the form gets elaborated in a very sort of strange way, almost like a ghost. You can't tell if it's a figure or a ghost, if it's alive,
Right, or it's alive.
hovering on this edge of not being alive. But they're very, it's almost like the shroud becomes a kind of second skin that gets stretched out through the frame.
Does anybody have more idea? Or don't like it, or you don't see?
I don't know, it makes you think. I think it's kind of makes me ponder, so I'm trying to figure it out right now because I'm not really clear about what it is.
You're not sure?
I'm not sure, but I mean, it looks, what they were saying, it's all darkness around them, and then in a way, it's trying to show a little light, but the light that it's showing is still very meticulous and dark.
Extremely. But what we are also referring and using the word sculpture, you know, this is a dancing. This is also a three-dimensional kind of form. You know, I mean, it's actually expressing. Also, you have to keep in mind that in a lot of these photographs, we didn't have, you know, I mean, or we don't have the opportunity to talk about everything that a photograph can do. But it's a narrative there. That photograph is telling a story. You know, a lot of the other ones, you know, even Here, there is a very profound study, the way that he moved. This one is much more sophisticated, have a different kind of a narrative, but it is telling a story. You know, and you have, you know, in any of these work, even the one of the pinhole, where actually you won't know how that image, because it's very, very, very difficult when you don't have control of a camera, you know, and the thing will open, or also is timing. If you leave it for too long, you don't know what you're going to get with that image. But when you get control of the camera, it's a different story. You know what you are doing. Therefore, you are actually composing. You are offering something that you are totally in control. It's like writing a paper. You know when you're going to end. You know how many words you're going to be writing. You know, there are many different kind of photographs, especially in this kind of work, and also the disposition of that person. You know, and here, that is a very strong factor. Yes?
It looks like the subject is the same model for each one, and I think it's interesting that if the photographer posed the person, to just reveal that it is the same person, like showing the features of the face, but then obscuring the rest of the body on purpose with the lighting and the way holding the fabric away. And sometimes it looks transparent, and then it looks like another material, like mysterious.
Yeah, it also, there is a little, what I am getting for what you say is a mystery on that. It's a little mysterious way, you know what I mean? That is, there are so many ways to solve that, but the way that she did it, which is her way, that I find that sophistication, but a very mysterious kind of way. Any other comments? Okay, let's keep going. I just thought this is the same series from Fondo de Borda from Argentina, you know, and also the story. This person actually is out of the hospital. He goes back and forth. He was hospitalized, but he's now out, and he is delighted to go back to the hospital just to take the workshop, because he loves so much the time that he was there, that the ride in the train to go, you know, I mean, to go back in the bus to go back to the hospital. To him, that is great, because he can take a lot of photographs on him. You know, he see his friends. You know, and when we were doing this, you know, Juan was doing this exhibition, he was telling me another exhibition that he did before, that the participation and how they want to get involved in this was fabulous. You know, I mean, really, they were very much part, not just taking the picture, but how they want to participate in that.
Do they do their own printing also?
Yes, they have a real professional photographer who helped them how to do that. Okay, on the supervision, because they got chemicals. Yeah. Now, this is a very interesting situation, and I will tell you a little bit about this person. And this person, I find it quite, his name is Jose Alberto Hernandez Cardi, but he's known as El Buzo. Do you know what that means, El Buzo? The diver.
The diver?
The diver, yeah, the diver vision. Because he dived to get all these kind of things. He dived, he's always hunting for things. That is how they call him, he's the diver, you know.
Oh, like a dumpster diver.
Exactly, exactly, it's like a dumpster diver. I should have said that in the first place. They call him the diver. Then the practice of Jorge Alberto of scavenging in the garbage, you know, have resulted in him being popularly known as the diver, exactly what you are saying. He utilized recycled materials such as brass and wood boxes, on whose interior sides he adds blacks and white photographs. He's fascinating with decorating or with working with. That is his fascination to doing that. And get close and take a look at some of the things, the narrative or non-narrative and the things that he creates in his way. Endearing scenes becomes grotesque if you really look carefully at it. Which he portrays, even children lose their faces or are characteristic with devilish, traits.
Luckily, I didn't know.
I imagine because that is the work of Loza. You can get close and see the way that he actually deals, and it's a lot of metaphors, a lot of visual metaphors in the work, how Loza handles his work.
Does he live there?
Oh, no, he lives in Spain and he's there, yeah.
So
right,
is he
yeah.
like a war photographer then?
No, he's a graphic designer. He seems like he has get all
So
that
these are
information.
not necessarily his images then?
Not necessarily his images. Yeah.
I thought they were his images of the images.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
interesting. Like
Yeah.
battle.
And here again, you have another aspect of the images from Argentina, from the hospital. More frontal. With also with the pinhole camera. But if you notice this one, the timing is a little bit, it's like a little bit more expertise or experience. It takes you a long time to really learn how to calculate your time with a pinhole. Here is Roger Sadler. Works with drawing, painting, collage, sculpture, photography. And for the last few years, he's quite known. He has been in the collection of NAEMI for many, many years. And also he's quite famous. He moves his art. Not difficult to sell. He's quite well respected. He has done the series Global Babel. He used found objects and build and recreate scenarios of aesthetic kitsch, combined then in 3D basis when we can discover among the figurines Hindu, Christian gods, animals, and the representation of multicultural time. Then we live in which technology, and all that kind of elements, are put together. Roger, he lived and worked in Texas, in the United States for 4 decades and have training in the fine arts. Here you got a situation of somebody who got an eye. This is to me, immediately, I don't have everything that I have seen for him throughout the year. It's inevitably, there. You don't have to discuss it. I always feel very, very strong to what he's doing. There is another image down there, but the fascinating thing to me personally in this is that I have learned, and I learned so much, with all these outsiders, because I feel that every time, and I have done quite a few of these exhibits, not with only these artists, but many of them. And I have seen, an evolution, how they rediscover themselves. And that is something that I am trying to do all the time. Therefore, at this moment, I would like to ask you, do you have questions? Do you want to explore other things? Well, because of the pinhole. Pinhole is pure distortion, because the pinhole camera, as I said before, I imagine you have done some, because I remember that one of the very first images that I bought at Lehigh University was your work, and that was a pinhole camera. Therefore, if anybody know about pinhole in museum, and it's something that can be taken, a state of photograph can be taken very seriously.
And but these are very, there's a lot of distortion in the collages,
Yeah.
In the ways that they're framed.
Yeah.
I find it very bold and very interesting how everybody has their own sort of personality.
Well, I try very hard to look for that. That is again, the way that I like to search, or the way that I feel that an outsider, artist, is. They have their own discourse, their own language. Anything else? Yeah.
Are most of the artists still alive now?
Yeah. Yeah, the majority. Some of them passed, because this program one, he has been working in this for the last 30 years. He has done an extraordinary job. Juan Martin has really forged something, extraordinary. It's, beyond belief how he has been able to help and to build this collection and to really deal with artists that otherwise they would have never done anything. They would have gone into obscurity, totally obscurity.
So I couldn't find the place.
Oh, you could?
No, so that's why I was.
Well,
So do
now
you
you-
mind repeating what you said at the very beginning about?
Yes, I might. No, what I will do is I will give you this as a present, which have everything that I have said
Okay.
in my write-up there. How's that?
Well, thank you.
I didn't do that. Now, what I will do, will you be so kind to give me my book? What I will do, if you allow me, this is something that I don't do that often at all. Even my good friends don't know much about this. One of my hobby in my outsider world is something that Pat and I we go to do now, is I go to this is an exhibition that we did in 2005, and I was so ecstatic because this is an exhibition that we did about the Nuevo Horizonte arte outside Hispanic. We did this one in Spain, and we have the great honor to be with one of the greatest poet. He just passed away not too long ago, Leandro Maria Panero, which is one of the greatest, who is a schizophrenic. He died in a sanatory in the Canary Islands. And one of the incredible things is that the group were doing that. One thing that I don't talk about, but I love to write poetry, and it's a poem of mine. Then they selected, to put here, and I go to read it in Spanish for those of you who understand it. And Patricia got to do it in English because there is, and that is what the title of this is, Lo outsider de la belleza, the outsider
aspect of
of the beauty. And this is go, and after that we can have something to drink or whatever. Arte recién nacido nos cuenta una mentira, sin el cognómetro de la palabra, sin la consistencia del silencio, la complejidad del punto y la coma, y la luz apagada que retrata el color, se convierte en abstracto enigma, muy cercano al umbral, nuevo horizonte, viejo arcoíris, cámara oscura. En el espejo exacto de las cosas, donde el solipsis se retracta muy cerca de la ilusión. Su diccionario de cosas equivocadas, más allá de la furia y la soledad, recuerda hacer y deshacer, pintando la desolación de lo hermoso, la memoria de no sé cuántas cosas, tela de óleo secreto, buscando con los ojos el ritmo de lo que no vemos, arrastrando la melodía, el libre contrapunto onírico de la verdad.
The outsider aspect of beauty. A newly born art tells us a lie without the cognomen of the word, without the consistency of silence. The complexity of the dot and the comma and the dim light that portraits color turn into an abstract enigma very close to the threshold. A new horizon, an old rainbow, camera obscura, in the exact mirror of things where solipsism retracts itself very close to illusion. Its glossary of wrong things beyond fury and loneliness remembers to do and to undo by painting desolation of beauty, the memory of I don't know how many things. Canvas of secret oil painting, searching with the eyes the rhythm of what we do not see, dragging the melody, the free oneric counterpoint of truth.
That is what I go to do when I retire.
Good plan.
I'm printing up the sign telling everyone to come here, and he said, "No, I want you to read this."
Once he's my friend. Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry, thank you for allowing me to do this.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any question, any other thing? Well, have some tonight.